Welcome to the Men of Action Network. The Men of Action Network is a life coaching system designed to support men's needs towards accurate living. For short, we call it MOAN. Welcome to our podcast. Guys,
yes,
we're back. And it's been a long break, but a good break.
yes.
I think we've all had a little challenges of sorts go on, and yet we're at this point where we can really, really appreciate where we are today. You know.
Okay.
By the way, my Saints were supposed to play in the Super Bowl, and this is my protest. For those of you, I don't care where you are, we were robbed. So I just want to make that point clear, especially to Atlanta Falcon fans.
That's all right. We can erase the place.
Y'all weren't going nowhere anyway.
Bad play by the ref, right?
But y'all have a dome. But anyway.
Yeah, we hosted the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you hosted, and there was fewer people than should have been. But anyway.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah, it was lackluster this year. I know it was.
Well, I think that, I think honestly the Trump stuff for the year before
carried over.
Carried over.
Yeah.
I think even the protest this year and the controversy about singers who refused to come and perform for the halftime show also played a role. Cardi B made an announcement hey, this guy gave up his career.
Yeah.
To make a point for all of us.
Yeah.
And the least thing we can do is stand with him.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I think that's important. Guys, the idea has been circulated one way or the other between us about what's really happening with our youth. And we've been in the area of talking about kingship, legacy, what is a man. We talked about man physically, sexually, emotionally. We've talked about some of these things. But as we talk about it, I believe that behavior is learned.
Yes.
I look at my flesh, my hands are just my hands, but why my hand wants to do right when somebody else's hand wants to do wrong means that there's a behavior challenge. It's something that we learn either by observance or was deliberately taught to us. I think there's a lot of things that we do that my parents, which I hadn't learned from them.
From them?
From them, mom and dad,
That's where it comes from.
Grandma, grandpa, there's some things, attitudes that we pick up.
You learn a lot from family.
Yeah, and I think what psychologists said, 85% of what you've heard, and are seen in more than that of what you've done,
Yeah.
So I think that's an area that we have to look at. And I think I would term those things that we just received from them that weren't intended a hand-me-down.
Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah.
As opposed to a real inheritance.
Right.
Yeah.
The definition of inheritance being what?
Anything that is
Something deliberately given, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a legacy that was deliberately passed on. It could be a legacy, a financial legacy. It could be comic books, our clothing. It could be land. It could be a lot of different things. But the idea is that one thing is deliberately given and the other isn't deliberately given, because some people even call a hand-me-down inheritance.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is, but it's not deliberate.
Right.
Yeah. You got the two definitions, hand-me-down versus inheritance. Hand-me-down is something that is passed on.
Right.
Even though your habits are passed on,
Right.
You learn those from your parents, your
Right.
brother, just being in that household environment.
Mhm.
You learn those things. They are your inheritance, but hand-me-downs, sometimes a lot of people believe hand-me-downs or clothes or
Mhm.
something like that
Mhm.
that was passed from the oldest brother to
Mhm.
the next brother and so on
Right.
and so on. In my case, my brother couldn't wear my stuff.
Anyway,
Oh wow.
All right.
just pulling this chain a little bit. But you are taller than
Yeah.
the rest of your brothers, right?
I am.
Okay. So I mean,
Short.
see, I mean, you know, there gonna be cutoffs for you, but I mean, you know, unless. But anyway. But I think the idea here is still then that we're dealing with the issue of something when we talk about a hand-me-down, something that's also given away that's no longer needed.
Right.
Yeah.
No value to it.
You know, no value, no real value to the previous
Yeah.
owner. You know,
Supposedly.
supposedly. But I mean, I'll give you a good example. If I saw a grandparent or a parent do something that was technically wrong,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like they ran at red light, you know, because they were rushing somewhere. Okay, they didn't necessarily mean to pass on me the ethic
Oh.
Of that action.
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
running red lights.
Uh-huh.
Okay, however, I see. When it's convenient,
Yeah.
you put your foot through the floor and run that light. You know,
Speed up on the yellow, right?
you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, how many of us take things like that we pick up from our parents, and then go and do those actions? You know,
Mm-hmm.
nobody was looking. The police weren't there, so I got away with it.
So, how would we place it in a framework? Because I'm looking directly at my life,
Mm-hmm.
and I see some things I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
that comes from who? My mom and my dad,
Right,
right? So they are subconscious learned behaviors,
right.
Mm-hmm.
which I've taken on
Yeah.
without
Right.
even realizing what it is.
That's my point.
That's it.
Until a person says, "You act like your daddy," or "You act like your mom,"
Exactly.
right? And then it's like, "Wait, no, I don't," but
Yeah, you do.
but I do.
Yeah. You got handed down or you inherited
Mhm.
a hand-me-down. Okay? So, I mean, we're really talking about, you know, hand-me-downs versus inheritance.
Yeah.
What was unintended that was delivered to you by parents, big brothers, sisters, whomever, okay, as opposed to what was given to you
Intentional.
on purpose, intentionally, for your growth, your development, for your betterment.
Mhm.
I would call it inheritance that because most times inheritance is something that I intend. Grandma say, okay, look, I'm gonna put some extra money aside in the
Right.
bank so when Kenneth gets bigger, he's gonna have this to go to school with, you know, start his family with.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to, you know, a little white lie that I saw somebody tell.
Right.
And now, you know, I become a big fat liar. You know?
It's so easy to just make it believable.
Right. You know, but what do we do about that? You see what I'm saying? So that's that inherited,
Mhm.
and that's that hand-me-down. And my question is that how much of you is a hand-me-down?
Mm.
Ouch.
Mm.
And would you say it's higher than 50%
Yeah.
that you've picked up unintended, unplanned habits, ideas, not all bad.
Right. Right.
However, it could range in temperament,
Mm-hmm.
it could range into sexuality,
Mm-hmm.
it could range into things like being an optimist about everything, you know, or being a person who doesn't care about anything, you know. How much of you is a hand-me-down as opposed to what's actually intended, like the priorities we as parents set on education.
That's tough,
It is. It is.
right?
Very.
Because everything I know, well, it's not everything I know, but most of what I know comes from my parents, right? It's the beacon that I judge my life off,
Uh-huh.
whether it's a mistake or not.
Yes.
And therefore, if you're being told, don't touch that fire because it's hot, don't touch that fire because it's hot,
Mhm.
don't touch that fire because it's hot,
Right.
and I've never experienced a burn,
Uh-huh.
so I've never really looked at that as an issue because I just begin to follow a command I was given not to touch that,
Mhm.
but I've never really experienced what fire is all about. So then I come along with my kid, boy, don't touch that fire. Don't touch
Exactly.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So now he carries a seed, what was passed on to me.
Mhm.
Right.
It's not really a legacy, but it's more of a protective pattern, right? So
Yeah.
Protective
Ouch.
pattern or an attitude that
Yeah.
was given when the pattern was done.
yeah.
See, because your mama said, "Oh, don't touch that." Now you got it, boy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
it's interesting. You know, we still add our little 2 cents to it,
Yeah.
which actually speaks that we accepted it.
Yes. Without question. Because it came from our parents.
And the assumption is that as parents, they're right.
Well,
Yeah,
but
and
it
they
was
know better.
also profound. In other words, it had no other information or knowledge to challenge that was right or proper, good, bad, or whatever. You know, so
Yeah.
it just got in.
Yeah, but we didn't challenge our parents.
For
we
a good
didn't
example.
question.
Well, I mean, but look, I love grits.
Really?
I love grits. I
Bless your
love
heart.
With shrimp and cheese.
grits and fish. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Lord.
But anyway, you know, because I love grits so much, my children have already have a love for grits.
Mm.
Because I'm gonna cook some grits up in my house.
Was that passed on?
It was
Passed
passed
on.
on.
Now, to some degree, deliberately. Okay, I must admit, you know, my wife is from West Africa, and so they eat something they call baka,
Okay.
which look gnarly to me.
Okay. Because it ain't the same.
It ain't grits.
It ain't grits.
However, my kids now eat both.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, because by intention, we plan to make sure that they love foods that represented both of our
Yeah,
cultural
culture, right.
appreciation.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's an inheritance of sorts
Yes.
that we deliberately pass down. Our attitudes about prioritizing things.
Right.
We want to deliberately pass that to our children, right?
Okay.
However, there are those quirks in my wife.
Notice,
Okay.
not one time he said him, right?
That's right. That's right. I noticed that.
It's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. See, I'm a saint.
Johnny Cash, right?
All right
No,
now.
I'm being facetious a little bit, but my point is that I see things of me,
Uh-huh.
even in my kids today,
Yeah.
that I'm like, man, that's how that looks.
You had a chance to judge how
Yeah,
it looked, huh?
you can see the optics on it, you go like, oh my,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
you know? And I'm insisting that I believe to some degree, even racism
Oh yeah. It's a learned
in
process.
some people is deliberately taught to them,
Right.
Uh-huh.
and in many others, and there's a lot of sweet white folks out there, so I'm not trying to, you know, but
Disclaimer.
some of those people picked it up off of grandpa, grandma.
Yeah.
They grew up in a different South than we have here today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so then what do we do with those people? Do we ostracize them and try to scrape them off the earth because
No.
they learned a behavior that was handed down to them,
Right.
but wasn't necessarily good for them or even good for that generation before?
So the question becomes, how do you determine what's a legacy and what's a hand-me-down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because the lines are so close.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, the
Very
lines are
close.
so close that it's kind of hard to retell.
I think intention has got to be one of those things.
Right.
Intention, because Grandma deliberately saved those things to
Right.
give to me or to whomever. Grandpa deliberately said, "This is his." You know, that was deliberate. So intention has to be a marker. You know,
Value to it.
Yeah, values. Yeah, I go along with values. Intentionally taught. Well, like we said before, intentionally taught could be good or bad. And a lot of times when racism comes into play, people say, "Oh, that's not good." Okay, so we tend to shy away from that. But at the same time, we should ask the question, why are you like that?
why are you doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
What reason can you give to violate somebody else's rights as according to the Constitution?
Well, wow.
Sticky.
But if you think you're above the Constitution or that it was made for other people, then it doesn't bother you like that.
Yeah.
You know, according to what Constitution? You know,
Mines.
yeah, you see, you know, 1 Cleon 3 and 6. You know,
That's
So-
right.
you know. But I think we're on the right page. I mean, intention,
Right.
Yeah.
what the value set is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it accepted if you're a Christian in biblical principle?
Right.
Right.
If it's accepted in normal circles of communication, you know. But you see, what I may think is acceptable in the normal circle of
May not be
communication
for somebody else.
may not be for somebody else.
Right.
So we have to also play that off
Right.
one side or the other.
Right.
So we still go back to values based upon intention
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to things that we receive by default.
So the trick is trying to understand the person who's passing whatever to you, whether it's a hand-me-down or a legacy. What was the intent of the value in which they intend to pass that down to you
Right.
versus where I am to receive said value of what I'm receiving.
Well, I mean, let's recognize it this way. First, you got to understand that that's something that you got, and you got to figure out how you got it.
No.
And then the thing
Yeah.
about it is, if you really want to go a little deeper, you have to find out what was the intention.
Exactly. I mean, there's people I've learned things from that I didn't like.
True.
Yeah.
Okay,
We all have.
so I can't use whether or not the person was likable or not
Right.
as my rule of thumb
Right.
in determining whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Value to it.
Yeah.
You know,
So how do you judge intent?
I think. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just
Because-
think that's difficult.
Like a person's action, you know, you can assume
Hmm.
based on what actions they take and what they do, but the intent.
Yeah.
But see, you still. The only way to truly judge character is by the fruit.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah. But the thing about it is, when you talk about intent, you have to get into that person's head that passed that hand-me-down or that inherited. You have to get in their head, and that's hard to
At
do.
the time, I didn't want to be in their head. They
That's
were
right.
cussing,
That's
and,
right.
and they were trying to slap and hit people,
Yeah.
and they had a belt in their hand,
Yeah.
and I just know. Only I know is that they had an intent to whip my tail,
Yeah.
and I don't want that to happen.
So I'll rephrase the question differently. Okay.
All right.
Because we're talking about hand-me-down versus
Inherit.
inheritance. So my question to you is, what is your hand-me-down for your child versus what is your inheritance when it comes to your child or children?
Okay, well, let's take my kids, okay? My son, you try and pass all this stuff on to your kids that are good for them because they were good for you.
Mm-hmm.
However, a lot of that don't work. So what I tried to teach the boys, I put it that way, but I tried to teach the boys how to treat women and so forth. A lot of that they accepted. Some of them they didn't. You know, we're not gonna get into what they did.
But then you got to admit today. I say I'm gonna twist them again. Today, women have changed from what you were trying to teach.
That's true.
Back then.
That's true. That's true.
Because back then you didn't say you told son, hey son, don't be up there like looking all down, blah blah blah. But now they show you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's nothing to hide.
Nothing hidden.
So what would be the inheritance you pass on to your boys and your girl?
Yeah, the inheritance is that you have good character.
Okay.
You have good values. And that's what we tried to pass on to them. Most of them got it.
So
I agree with you in that, David, you would say, I would say, Cleon would say, education was intentionally passed on to us.
Right.
So we went to school, we got an education.
Right. Had to study.
Because, not just because of societal values, but there was a pressure in the home.
Right.
To make sure that those things were delivered to us.
Besides the belt.
Besides the belt, or with the belt,
belt.
But it was
You got
served.
a belt?
Well, sometimes a board in the back hand, but anyway, my dad was from the
Big
country.
board.
Yeah, he's from the country, But I'll tell you a good knockoff, like for myself. My dad would get up in the morning sometimes, especially when he had a day off or he had extra time, he would cook breakfast. Okay? Now, what I did was I took that and I would do the same thing, but then I started inviting the kids to come down and make breakfast with me.
Okay.
Okay? So I took what he had and added a little bit to it.
Right.
Now, did he intentionally pass on, hey, can I get up and go fix breakfast? Not necessarily intentionally. It was kind of a hand-me-down that I observed through watching him get up and cook breakfast. Okay? What was cool about it is that he would make these big, big biscuits. He's a country boy.
Daddy biscuits.
Yeah, the big daddy biscuits. And I mean, real flour, scratch, baking powder, all, the nine, and lay it out and do it, and it was not,
Yeah.
But I think my takeaway from this piece of the discussion is that there was also some habits, my dad could be kind of quick on the draw, temper-wise,
Oh yeah.
you whatever, and so that was something I had to learn how to control.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a good guy and all that, but he could go there,
So what would you say the concept of we're talking about what again? Your inheritance from your dad.
Mm-hmm.
How you define that? Because I'm trying to wrap my mind around the things that we gain from our family through habits, through different insights as a hand-me-down versus my inheritance. And I'm looking at my parents and I'm really thinking now, what did I really inherit from my parents?
Right.
Now, honestly,
Yeah.
And now I'm struggling.
And how much was handed down
versus
intentionally given?
Right. And the thing about that is, if you were like me, you didn't stay in the house for a lot. So you went out to be with the boys and you learned stuff there also. Was it intentional or was it a hand-me-down?
Well, the rules of the street
Don't apply.
broaden this to such a degree that you have to stand back and consider. And this is what I was going back to something earlier. You have to consider that first, this was something that I picked up from somewhere.
Yeah.
This attitude, the way I'm doing this, the way I'm acting. I picked up, where did I get that from? Okay? How do I evaluate this behavior? Is this behavior good or bad? Because most things that we can find in our lives, we can find good and bad to associate with it.
Yeah.
You know, I picked this up from Kevin. I picked this up from Charlie playing ball on the street. Or I picked this up from Dad. I picked this up from Mom or Big Brother.
Oh,
Okay.
we pick stuff up from those people who influence us.
Right. You know, whether we see them as a leader in front of us or
I
not.
know, right,
You
right.
see,
Yeah.
because learning is God is so brilliant. Learning is one of these things that happens passively.
Mm-hmm.
It happens in a place where we reflect sometimes
Mm-hmm.
and realize, oh, that was an opportunity, you know, and you go back and get it,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Or we learn